Hello everyone, and this is my review for TNA Impact Wrestling on April 24th, 2015, and the show was built around the whole, initially around the whole aspect of it being an all knockout show plus a world title match at the end, and they swayed away from that a little bit throughout the show, and I'm not saying that necessarily in a bad way. They definitely did a decent job of setting up stuff for their next week, which they're advertising as Hardcore Justice in there. And you also had some interesting builds towards storylines as well. You had throughout the entire show what Eric Young was going to do throughout the night, because he got basically pushed aside again for a world title shot, where it's saying that Austin Aries was going to cash in his Feast or Fire briefcase in order to do that. And I'll get into that throughout that portion of the show a little bit later on, but you saw throughout the entire thing, like, Eric Young looking like he doesn't know what he wanted to do. Was he going to go back into the whole deranged state and everything like that? It made it seem like he was trying to battle with what he was going to do. It honestly made him look more of a face than anything in this case, because he's been constantly pushed aside, even though he's considered #1 contender for the world heavyweight title. He keeps getting pushed aside by other people to get and other people getting those shots. So it kind of makes him the face, or semi the victim in this case, of what's going on around him. You also had a decent promo with him and Kurt Angle backstage. In there, you saw the moment where they were trying to make it look like he was leaving the arena and confronted Austin Aries, and you had some relatively good segments with that throughout the show. They had the Fatal 4-Way match for the #1 contendership of the Knockouts title with Brooke, Madison Rayne, Gail Kim, and Angelina Love. Relatively good Fatal 4-Way match. Interesting, I wouldn't say interesting that they decided to go with Brooke in this case. I mean, all the knockouts that were there have had their moments in the ring and with the Knockouts title, but they pretty much have, they've done a lot with Angelina Love, Madison Rayne, and with Gail Kim in this case. So it was good that they decided to go off with Brooke, and with what they did later on in the show makes it even better, because now you'll have a face going after the title. Later on in there, the area with, or the promo with Mickie James and Magnus out there, I liked where they went with this. It made it seem like they were going to have Mickie James retired, and you have James Storm come out in like his old get up and everything like that. It's interesting to see how James Storm is working this, because you see him in portions of the show where he's acting like his old self, and then you see him with the Revolution, he's acting like what he does with the Revolution there. It's like two different aspects. It's kind of interesting to see where they're going with it. I'm hoping they're not getting rid of the whole Revolution area, because with his what I would see as a upcoming storyline with him and Magnus here in the very near future, I see a point for them to actually still be there, and maybe will they even do a whole attempt of changing Mickie James into someone who's joining the Revolution and someone and somewhere in that aspect of everything. But also consider the Revolution, they seem to have so many storylines going on. I mean, you're still having the continuation feud with them and the Hardys, and them and the Wolves, with the one Wolf that's left in there, which is leading now into a six-man tag for next week with the Revolution members and the Hardys, and it's not Eddie Edwards, it's Davey Richards. Yes, Davey Richards, because Eddie Edwards is out with a heel injury right now. And they've been keeping that storyline going on for a while, and now they're also bringing in this whole aspect of Mickie James and Magnus in there. They have a lot of storylines going on with the Revolution at this point. So we'll see how they work that out. That's going to pretty much be the end with the Hardys and the Wolves with the Revolution for the time being. With next week's match, and they'll just focus in on the whole Magnus storyline, or they're going to try to intertwine this all into one big storyline. We'll see where they go with that. You also had more with the BDC and and the Rising. You know, I didn't like how they necessarily came off, how the whole thing came off this week. Basically, it was almost like Drew Galloway kind of, you know, going completely against what he's been saying this entire time. You know, like the whole Rising aspect is to be everything good about wrestling. You have you have straight 1-on-1 matches, straight 2-on-2 matches, no interference, no this, no that. And what does he do right away during his during the match with Micah and Kenny King? He immediately interferes and gets kicked out of the gets kicked out. It just seems completely against everything that the Rising's supposed to be doing. Yet they went ahead and did it there. I didn't necessarily like that aspect of it. I actually didn't really care too much about this week with the Rising and the BDC because they played the whole aspect of, sure, the BDC lost their match. Kenny King lost to Micah, and not really fluke fashion, just, you know, actually with a somewhat of a decent finish in there. But then the BDC immediately gets their heat back by beating down all three members of the Rising. So you're kind of just waiting for that fourth member now. Who's gonna, since they had Homicide come in for the BDC, now who are they gonna have as the fourth member of the Rising? And we'll probably see that here in the very near future. I don't know, but this week's did not necessarily come off all that well between their rivalry, which is a little bit unfortunate in that case. You had the debut of the Dollhouse this week as well, which was Jade and Marty Bell, and they just went up against. Or Jade went up against the person who's also known as Cherry Bomb. I forget what they called her for TNA in this case. Actually, not a bad debut. The more I look at it, like the match itself wasn't all that great, but it wasn't a bad debut because it kind of got across what their characters are supposed to be. You know, just kind of, you know, completely psychotic, and you saw that in their interactions. You know, getting blatantly disqualified, attacking the referee, attacking Christy Hemme afterwards. Interesting note that I guess they're doing this whole aspect of the jawbreaker in the putting the jawbreaker in the mouth as like almost, I wouldn't say a gag, but just kind of a like a symbol of their dominance or something in that case. Not a bad debut in that case. In this case, like I said, the match itself was kind of a side note, and like I said before, with and I can tie this in with the whole aspect of Brooke debuting before, not Brooke debuting, but Brooke becoming #1 contender. They also end out joining Tara Terrell for the match with Awesome Kong. It was kind of, I kind of liked how they decided to do this. You know, Tara Terrell has not shown too much in the terms of personality in her face character, so now they're turning her heel, having her join up with Marty Bell and Jade for the Dollhouse. So, you know, it gives a chance to maybe have her show what she can do as a heel, or maybe even show a different side of her personality or something in that case, because you weren't really getting a lot of that in her face character. You're kind of getting the whole aspect of, you know, she wants to be the fighting champion, the basic stuff that she didn't really show too much depth there. Now she has a chance to show a little bit more depth, and we'll see where everything goes with that aspect down the road there. So all in all, not bad on that in that area in any way, shape, or form. I thought they did a relatively good job in that whole aspect of turning Tara Terrell heel this week. It came off actually fairly good in that case. They also had a beginning of a storyline between well, not necessarily beginning, but more of a continuation storyline with EC3 and Mr. Anderson. I really, really liked EC3's promo. He came off so pretentious. I mean this in a good way. He makes you want to hate him. I've said this before in the past. EC3 makes you want to hate him. The whole semi-presidential candidacy speech to try to become next world heavyweight champion, it was just, it came off so good. It was perfect heel everything from him in this case. I really really liked what they did with EC3 here. I like the aspect that he is working with just Mr. Anderson. He's moving away from Rockstar Spud in this case, and this is probably a good way of kind of launching EC3 into I'm assuming is going to be a world title, maybe not run, but him becoming #1 contender at some point and eventually facing Kurt Angle, whoever they decide to have as champion at that point in time. I wouldn't mind seeing Kurt Angle because you have that feud kind of already there. They haven't really been around each other in a while. You can play off of what they did in the past between Kurt Angle and EC3 at that point in time, so kind of hoping they keep it as Kurt Angle down that road if they decide to go with that route, and we'll see. Like I said, we'll see where everything goes with that. I really like this week's, and we'll see how they continue on with this Mr. Anderson and EC3 storyline down the road here. This leads to what finished off the night was what was now going to be Austin Aries versus Kurt Angle. Basic what you would figure. In this case, Eric Young comes back out there, attacks Austin Aries, and eventually does attack Kurt Angle, going back into the whole aspect of him being completely deranged. Not too bad of a storyline. Like I said before, they made Eric Young kind of come off as almost a face, like he's completely justified he's completely justified in the aspect of being completely angry in his aspect of the character, but they make him come off as heelish, as kind of going too far with everything in that case. So we'll see how they continue on with this storyline. Are they going to actually put Austin Aries in there, or if this is just another portion that's going to eventually lead to a Kurt Angle Eric Young match down the road? We'll see where they go with it. Not too bad, like I said, for the ending of the show. I thought it came off relatively well. This week's show, I felt came off a lot better than last week's show was. So overall, I would say really good show by TNA this week. I thought they did a lot better job this week than they did last week, and that's my review for TNA Impact Wrestling. And I thank you guys for watching.